We basically just want to show a little bit of each phone. You know, you have a lot of choices out there, and sometimes it's a little overwhelming on what are you going to get. So we wanted to just give a real brief demo of any of the phones, so you get an idea of, okay, is this going to work for me? Is this not going to work for me? These are the choices I need to look at. These are the things I want to do. Is this phone going to do it? All that. And our primary focus is business, so that's what we're going to deal strictly with. It is absolutely easy to go on 1,000 tangents and say, oh yeah, this phone does games way better, hand this phone to your kids, use this one for work. We're just going to keep it for work. Review benefits, limitations, and we will make fun of them, mostly at the iPhone, because none of us really care for the iPhone. But what we decided was a couple of business tasks. What do we want to do with these phones? And it's great, we can make a phone call on most of them, I hope. I don't think phones have evolved past that yet. So a lot of this stuff is the same things you could do on the tablet, but we wanted to just focus on the phone. Well, the phone is a much smaller screen, more portable, lighter, so you're going to do different tasks with it. On the tablet version of this presentation, we had review/edit. Yes, you can absolutely edit any of the documents on some of these phones. I personally don't want to hit some stupid little button all the time trying to write a document. I pretty much just use them for review. In a quick pinch, if you need it, you can do it on some of them, but it's not something I would do as a permanent, ongoing basis. Some businesses, they have their core applications that are web-based. We'll take a quick look at how the phones handle any of these applications. Connecting to corporate networks. Every network is different. As many as I've set up, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of different networks, and they all require, or they're all a little bit different. They all have their uniqueness. Some of them are very open where anything can connect to them. Some of them are so locked down you need double authentication to get through. There's VPNs, there's passwords, there's passphrases, there's encryption keys. It's absolutely crazy. And we just want to go over the real basics of what some of these phones can do. And connecting to email, some of the applications on them. And then there are some local applications. You look at things like Amazon. You can access Amazon two different ways on most cell phones. You could access it on the web page, or you can load the Amazon app. Well, what's the difference between them? Why would you use one or the other? We'll go over real quickly a little bit about that. And general device issues is the little quirks with the phones. iPhone has its quirk of you have to buy Apple products. You can't even use a knockoff charger anymore because of the way they changed the new Thunderbolt connector around. You have to buy an Apple approved charger. Well, just know that when you have to spend $30 on a charger. So little things like that. The phones we wanted to go over. The coolest for the hipsters, the iPhone, geeks, the Android. Less bickering. I don't know if anyone's seen the commercial for the Windows phone. It's actually pretty cool. Imagine a wedding. You've got all these Android people showing off their phone. You've got all these iPhone people showing off their phone. They're just fighting back and forth. And there's a couple people with Windows phones just standing there taking a picture of everything because they have no reason to really fight with anyone. So I put that in there. And just because I didn't feel like taking it away, the easiest phone to use out of any of them, Rafi's banana phone. It's no problems with it. Never have to worry about screen time, battery life, or anything like that. It just works. So here's Brandon with his Android phone. So just go over what model phone, carrier, stuff like that.
Okay, so Android is pretty much available on any carrier. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, etc., etc. I have a Galaxy Nexus, which runs slightly different than what most people get. It's like the Samsung Galaxy S4 or S3 or something like that, because it looks just a little bit different. And that is both a good and bad thing about Android, is you have a lot of device availability. You can find the one that suits your needs perfectly, but it also, they all function the same, they all run the same apps, but some of the menus might look a little bit different, and some people don't like that. one of the things that's like I said, you can find what you want, screen size, battery life, whether you want a certain weight, you want one with the stylus, you want one with certain capabilities. Most of them run on with LTE, which is pretty standard now. So yeah, let's get started with that. The first thing that most people ask about is, they want to check their email, which is typically pretty important for a business. So if you go into your settings on an Android phone, no matter where you go, there's an accounts section, and with the accounts, you manage all of your accounts from here, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Evernote, your Google accounts, and adding an account is as simple as adding an account, selecting which type of account you want to add. So let's say I want to add one for my Office 365 email. I just type in the email address and the password. Let's see, is that going to focus in? It's kind of bright. Well, this part's email address, this part's password, and it'll authenticate. And adding the email like that, there's not a whole lot of settings. It tends to do a pretty good job of picking up, like, whether it's Yahoo, the settings for Yahoo, Office 365, that sort of thing. You might have to, look up what, let's say it is a Yahoo address or a Hotmail address. You might have to look up what, like, m.yahoo.com for what server, but you'll have to do that on pretty much any device. The actual email application by default looks like this. You have your emails there. You can choose your folders, whole lists of them. And one thing that it doesn't, that both Android and iPhone both have the underhand here, is the Windows Phone, especially with Office 365, really connects to the server a lot smoother, and you can actually have a bit more features when it comes to getting your email and connecting the server and what it loads and how quickly it loads it, and it's a bit more efficient on that end. So that's one thing to consider if you have mailboxes that 30,000 emails that you need to go through. Windows Phone will do a bit better job handling all of that. Let's see here, connectivity. You can connect to VPNs. There's Sarah mentioning me on Twitter. You can connect to VPNs. Unfortunately, you need to have a security set up on your phone, like a pin lock or pattern or anything, in order to use that. But it connects to most of the standard VPNs. If you get into some of the proprietary, like Cisco stuff and the really high-end stuff, you might run into some compatibility issues simply because it's not a full-fledged computer. Now, speaking of connections and security, one of the things is you have multiple options for locking and unlocking your device. You have just the basic no lock screen at all, just go straight to the home screen. You can slide it to unlock, which I'm sure most of you have seen before. Face unlock, which it requires you to see your face, then you have to blink in order for it to open. Pattern, which is it's a grid. You just choose what you want. Pins and passwords. And another security feature is that you can fully encrypt the entire device, which is convenient if you're dealing with sensitive data. Complete encryption. It takes it a little bit to encrypt it all, but it's pretty secure. Now, one of the things that's nice for security in your business, though, is there's an app called Cerberus, which just kind of runs in the background. It'll make you log in. It's I think it's $3 for a lifetime license. You can install it on all your devices, and you can control, track, manage who can use the device from from any web browser. So if you're using a company device and one goes missing, you can take a picture from the camera remotely and have it sent to your email. See where is it, who's got it, etc., etc. There are equivalent apps for that for iPhone. I don't know if there's one for Windows Phone on that.
you automatically synced in with the NSA servers?
I think everyone is at this point, because that's pretty much the cell carriers. So unless you guys want to go out of country and pick a different cell carrier, NSA knows what apps you're using. Let's see, what else was there? So let's say you get a document in your email. You want to edit documents. My go-to document editor is called Office Suite. You pay a one-time fee. It's a couple dollars, and there's an Office Suite for Android and iOS, I believe. And this allows you to open up documents, Word documents, create new ones. You can start typing here. Spreadsheets, presentation, like slideshows. And what's nice about this one is that you can synchronize like your SkyDrive with it, which is convenient. SkyDrive, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever you're using. The only thing is SharePoint does not sync by default with most apps unless you're on a Windows phone. So you have to go to third-party apps such as Share Plus, which I really like. I believe they have an app for iOS as well that does the same thing, but you just add a site. So if you have SharePoint hosted on your own server, you just choose Windows. If you have it on Office 365, you select Office 365, and it's just a simple matter of typing in what the site is, your username, and your password. So that's that. Another thing for like just a nifty little thing that both Android, iOS, and Windows Phone can all do is they have something called Mobile Manager, which is nice for us because we actually are able to add the mobile devices that people are using to our monitoring software. So that lets us, keep track of the hardware on the device, what's the condition, who's using it, which is really nice in a corporate environment. Speaking of corporate environments, this one's a big one. Who here has, in their past, used or worked with BlackBerry? I'm guessing, yeah, a lot of you. BlackBerry has a really nice management for their phones. Samsung actually recently released what's called Samsung Knox, like Fort Knox. It's only available to businesses, and what it does is it creates two completely individual environments for your phone. I can't, this is not a business phone, so I can't quite show you it, but what it does is gives them a personal portion to their phone, and then a completely separate encrypted business side of it that is 100% managed by your IT department, whether that's what apps they can install, what they have access to, what they can do with it, where it's at, what it's doing, and it is completely separate from their personal side of it. So you can use one device, work, play, completely separate and manageable, which is nice in a business. Another nice thing is that especially for a business environment, if you have tablets or phones that maybe you take out in the field, you're only going to want certain people to have access to it at certain times. This is just a nifty little thing, but there's a lot of capabilities. I'm sure you guys have seen the commercials where people tap their phones and it transfers files, and you can do a lot more than just transfer files with the NFC. Windows Phone is catching up to it, but right now Android currently has the upper hand with this. But I have right here, it's a little keychain piece. They also have bracelets, rings, stickers, and whatnot. And these automate my phone, do things with my phone. So let's say you only want certain people to have access to it, and a lot of people have key fobs to get into buildings or something. You have a key fob. That's how you get into the device. You lock out the devices. Only if you have a key fob can you get into it, which is a really nice security measure. And you can even lock out individual apps. So that's using an app called NFC Secure. So let's say you only want the people to have access to your business apps, For example, one of our clients is setting up a new ERP system that has an Android app. They could lock out all the other apps so they can only access that unless the people in charge give access with the key fob. So you have management through more than just, oh, this person, I'm just going to take the device away from you, or I have a little passcode that locks the entire device out. You can get into a bit more detailed management with that.
What happens if you lose it?
If you lose the key fob, you can actually get into the security settings and deactivate the key fob by logging in with an account. So one of the accounts that when you set up the app, it requires that you log in. You create with your email address. You log in, and let's say you lose it, you just log in with your email address, deactivate that key fob. It can't be used. So I can go into it, and so I have device or application. All right, manage the keys, and I can just disable this one. If you have the only key, you can get into the app using your email address that you used to set it up. So if you only have one key and someone takes it, and you don't want them getting into it because you don't know who it is, you take the device, log in, completely deactivate that key so it can't be used anymore. Yeah, so you can take this and just slide it over and sign in with the account.
Face recognition, just put in
You can only have one face for the recognition. So that the face recognition only works if there's one person using the device. This, you can have as many keys as you want, turn them on and off as you please, and like give like timed access. So these people, all right now you can have access, tomorrow you can't. Now, like I said, that works with the NFC, so there are only certain ones that have that. This goes back to the whole variety of phones. Most of the Android phones that are coming out do have that capability, but there are a couple that don't. All the major ones do, though. And the resolution, this one is a 720p resolution, although most of the newer phones are 1080p resolution, which is very high. So what you can do, and this works on any phone, whether it's a picture, a document, anything, you just pinch your fingers, zoom out, zoom in. Zoom out if it's too small, zoom in. Now, if you go to like 100%, that's the size it will look like if it was actually printed out. If you zoom into 150%, at 150%, that's what it would look like printed out if you took a 50% magnifying glass and looked at it. Now, speaking of documents and managing them and printing and stuff, a nifty little thing that Google has been working on is Google Cloud Print, which actually allows you to, if you have a printer that's like shared on your network or connected to your network, you connect it to a Google account, you log into any web browser or device with that Google account, and you can print to that printer. So I can open up a document in any app on here, choose to, well, I would have to save it or export it, but if I was to save it, I can then share it. I share it with Google Cloud Print, select which printer I want to use that's connected to my account, and over the internet, no matter where I'm at, it goes to that printer. So you have, let's say you have a couple of printers set up on your server. You download the Google Cloud Print client, set them up with that, choose which ones that are activated, and it shows up in the app. And those same printers will show up in any web browser. And I believe that they're working on or have just released an iPhone app for Cloud Print as well. If it's not released yet, they're working on it. Now, this app that I mentioned, Cerberus, before, in the web, when you log into the website, it's like cerberusapp.com. You log in with the account that you created for Cerberus, and you can send commands. You can say, start tracking the GPS location, and it will turn on the GPS, do that. If you want to wipe the device, it'll wipe the device. If you want to change the passcode on the device, it'll change the passcode. If you want to send a message to this device so that the owner gets it, like whoever's holding it gets it, it will send a message. And here's the thing. Let's say you do a remote wipe using Cerberus or Samsung Knox, but Cerberus is more widely available, way more widely available. If you do a remote wipe, Cerberus stays on there. So if you wipe the device and someone else has it, typically you'd think, oh, well, I just wiped it and they don't have my data, but they still have the phone. No, you can still track the phone. You can still get a GPS coordinate and you can see it on a map. So wiping, CERBERUS. And they have a 1 week trial period. So you can try it out for a week on your phone. Just tinker with it, look at the web interface. And when you launch it the first time, it'll tell you what website you have to go to control it.
How would facial recognition work with people who have facial hair changes, eyeglass changes?
The glasses won't make that much of a difference. The facial hair does. I did shave at one point when I was using the face unlock just to try it, and it did have trouble picking me up at some angles. Now, let's say the facial recognition does not work because you changed your appearance. You can press a button and then it gives you an alternate security. You set up an alternate security. So let's say I have facial recognition set up. So actually, I'll show you right now. Actually, so. Huh? Oh, I'll show you after.
Just kind of go over, I probably should went over this first. Yeah, the Android-based phones, there's no shortage of them. It's both a good and a bad thing. My biggest complaint, which Google has done a lot to kind of alleviate, is you've got so many different versions of the phone. Menus look different. The ways to get things, the wording's a little bit different here or there. So one person picking up a Motorola Android phone might have a little bit of a headache the first time they touch a Samsung Android phone. It's usually not the end of the world. It's just know that there might be some differences. Application Store is huge and getting bigger. You saw Brandon messing around with his little NFC tag. You know, that's something that it's relatively new. iPhone doesn't have anything like that. Windows Phone has some very basic adoption of it. So the Android-based device is a lot more open, and you'll see more new things come out for an Android-based device than you will for a iOS Apple device. Doug, he has our iPhone. I still will absolutely use the "it just works" analogy with it, because a lot of the times your basic functions, they just work. Unless some external factor is giving you headaches. If you want to get your email on an iPhone, well, it's relatively easy. It's a very fixed number of you do this, this, and this. Oh, and there's your email. Not much thinking to it. Unlike the Android-based devices, your choice for manufacturer is Apple, and Apple, and Apple. So you don't have to worry about this screen being a different size, or this screen or this device weighing more or less. Options for this one. You don't have to worry about menus looking different between different devices. It's all standardized, and that's a very good thing. The drawback from that is obviously you pay the premium. Apple knows they are the only ones who have their stuff, so they have $30 peripherals for anything. So you will pay money for simple things, like a VGA adapter or an HDMI adapter. Those cost a fair amount of money. You can't get away with cheap generic ones like you can for some of the other phones. Can't use Flash, and I understand why. Is it good, bad? It depends on what you're trying to do. Huge application store. I forget. There is some billions of downloads of apps from their store that they just announced at the recent conference. It's some insane number of stuff. So you have a lot of options. I don't know how many people need a 300th copy of Sudoku, but if you like 300 different variations of it, you are set. Approximate share, yeah. And the general gist about these is you could be really snobby with them. I don't think Doug is too snobby though, so but I won't hold it against him. And something new, and this was just announced Monday, I think, or Friday, one of the two. Friday, yeah. Microsoft just released a Office package for the iPhone. And I specifically say the iPhone. They do not have this Office package for the iPad. I'm pretty sure that's because Microsoft is still trying to push the Surface and the Surface Pro product. So they're not offering that. I don't know if they will. I have a feeling there will be enough market pressure. They will eventually do it for the iPad. But for right now, iPhone users can rejoice. They get full-blown Office support. So they have a mobile copy of Word that will open up and edit documents just like you can pretty much anywhere else. Obviously, stripped down, less functionality compared to the full-blown versions, but you now have a fully supported. I don't know what I didn't have a chance to read up on the SkyDrive integration, but I'm pretty sure if they're going to do this, they're going to make it go directly to SkyDrive. So if you're working on Office 2013, 2013 on a Mac, save something to SkyDrive. You go someplace, you have your iPhone with you, you can pull up that same document from SkyDrive on your phone. So it seems to be Microsoft's trend with integrating everything together, which is not a bad thing.
Hi everyone, I'm Doug. I work at Simplex as a database administrator, Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, I have an iPhone, which is why I was recruited to do this presentation. I have some interesting comments to share with you. Okay, the first thing I'd like to do is talk about what Kevin talked about here. Okay, there is a large perception in the industry about Apple. You plug it in and it works, and that's true. But what's not on there is the words their way. It works their way. The reason that I got an iPhone is because a bunch of clients started getting them because other people said that they were such a good device. Before you know it, people were expecting me to know something about this device. At the time, I had a flip phone, and I didn't know anything about it. So I talked to some of my peers, whose opinions I respect, and they too gave a thumbs up to the iPhone. So I went out and I got on the hook for almost $200 a month for 2 years to find out what it's all about. Okay, I had no idea what I was doing, and that's an important takeaway here. Way more than the feature list or what this phone could do or that phone could do, you guys. I hope it's not insulting anyone. It's very important that you know your usage profile on any phone, because all the points we go over, all the features that we can be discussed, have to be digested within the context of your usage profile. Okay, so we can't underestimate what the second one means, only from Apple. Yeah, Apple is a closed ecosystem, we call it. Okay, I love it. I love the fact that Apple is dominating the market. For about 20 years, a little bit more, I've made my living supporting Microsoft technologies, and Microsoft has had dominance in the marketplace, and a lot of people feel that there isn't enough diversity in this area or that area. I mean, Office is a great application, there's no doubt. But it's nice to see a couple new players on the block that have some market capital. Google and Apple, wonderful things, okay? I was concerned when I saw the iPhone couldn't use Flash. But the fact is, I don't ever run into it on a day-to-day basis that it matters. The websites that I go to, which are mostly technical, all have the ability to be displayed on the iPhone. Okay, the applications, yes. You have a huge application store out there. Okay, shared market, that's varying all the time, but supposedly the iPhone is in decline. And by the way, I am horrified to find out that I'm viewed as a hipster by having an iPhone. I absolutely am not anything of the sort. In fact, I would describe myself as a dinosaur. And we're gonna tie into that in a minute. Okay, so yeah, the snobbiness, I was proud of it when I first had it. Now I'm a little bit weirded out that people judge me by the fact I have an Apple. And frankly, what they're doing is they're saying, he's one of those snobby hipsters. And I'm not. I just didn't know where else to get it, and I asked my friends. Okay? And this is very interesting, Office and Office 365 support. In fact, Kevin asked me before the demo in the office, he said, you've got Office on there now, don't you? You have Office 365 on there. And I said, why? And anyhow, I'm here to explain why. Okay, I work with a lot of very capable people, just like the whole crew at Simplex here. Okay, a lot of them fit what I consider to be my usage profile. Okay, one guy I work with is up in Canada, and he's a wide area network specialist. That's all he does is routers and security. He runs his whole life off his iPhone and his iPad. I thought, wow, Max can do it, I can do it, you know? But what I didn't know is that Max's usage profile was different. So what do I mean by usage profile? Can anyone guess? What I'm gonna use the phone for. And I should have known this before I went into Verizon. What I'm going to use the phone for is one thing, and I didn't even know this myself, making phone calls. That's why my flip phone worked for me. Okay, but I have so many people, my girlfriend, my clients, hey, did you get my text? No, I didn't. Okay, well, hey, did you get the email? No, I was on the road. All right, I have to do something about that. That's where I decided to pony up $2,000 a year to get on speed with it. But as I look back on it, I want to receive important emails. I want to receive business calls on my iPhone. That's important, business calls. I want to make personal and business calls, and I want to simplify my life. So I bought into the hype that this device was going to do that for me. Okay, the other thing is, I have been in IT for a while. I used to have hair, I used to be able to hear with background noise, and I used to be able to see without these. These are critically important points, okay? The primary benefit of a smartphone is you can whip it out, and I watch the guys do it all the time, and you could deal with something. This is how smooth the hipster is with his iPhone. Okay, normally I have my things in there, or I'm one of these people, I'll run around the office like that. Okay, I got a text in. I have a server that's down. We have it limping along while we're waiting for a part. Okay, the part is in. Great, except I couldn't see it. I have to go like this, and then I see it. Enter my code. Get to my messages. There it is, the top one. The part is in. So what did I do? The part is in. I went, yeah, that means I can get the server back up with the right parts in it. Everything's gonna be good. I did not text back. I actually resisted the urge to text back because what I need to do is coordinate downtime with the company and get it done. And what's the best way to do that? An interactive conversation. I called Michelle back. We took care of it in 30 seconds. The text came in, it helped me, but I didn't respond with it. That's my usage profile. I'm not ashamed to admit I am a dinosaur. I work on seriously intense stuff. I live scared sometimes, like when somebody's server's down. It's a huge responsibility what we have in IT, you know? The thing is, this is not an appropriate tool for my usage profile. The other thing is I type with both hands. I don't do it with my thumbs. Okay, so after I got my most powerful little computer, more than the original space station, right here in your hands, I thought I had it made. And I was disappointed to find out exactly what it takes. If I can get us a browser session here, I can show you a little bit of why I was disappointed. Oh, Kevin, it's on your other screen that isn't here. Okay, it's not that important. Okay, what I learned, and I learned it the hard way, is that it takes commitment to integrate these devices into your life. And again, because of my usage profile and the fact that I work about 10 hours a day and I grind through 1,200 page books, I was not willing to make the commitment to the device that it took. Yes, it's Apple. Yes, it just works. Okay, I had some downtime the other day and I was going through and cleaning up my contacts. Because it just works, every email I get gets added as a contact to my phone. Okay, that's not necessarily a good thing in my book. We all have contacts, and they all look the same. In fact, everything looks the same on every screen on these devices. It's one of my major complaints. But what I found out is that trying to utilize the business features took some work that I wasn't willing to do. So I go in here and I say, stop synchronizing with my email. You know what it interpreted as? Again, I had no say in this, although the guys laughed when I told them. It means erase every contact. That got automatically added. So I lost my whole list of the people that I work with, and I'm slowly building it back up. Now they all got a chuckle out of it because what I really had to do is get on my laptop and fire up iTunes and reconfigure my Exchange profile. Well, it didn't say that on here. You know, and again, I'm not dumb, but I'm not willing to devote my life to a 2-inch by 3-inch screen. This is supposed to be helping me, not hurting me. Okay? All right, the other thing is what I was going to do was pull up the Apple screen for the business features of the iPhone. And they list that you can manage your whole life. You can stay connected at all times. You could do this, you could do that. And what I found out as I dove into each feature is that it takes a level of commitment that, again, I'm not willing to do. If I'm gonna study, if I'm gonna work, the main reason I won't play games, if it's hard, I want paid for it. Because we have to have a life outside of IT. And the thing is, I'm not gonna put all this time into this little device just because I'm a hipster. So what you find if you look at the business features that the iPhone and most of the phones, and by the way, you guys, this is my own opinions here, not endorsed by anyone else. The business features is that it's kind of a joke. There is no business feature, as far as I'm concerned, on a smartphone. What there are personal features that we can use on our own. At work, it's called the BYOD movement, bring your own device. But what you find is the system admins are really uptight about it. And yes, BlackBerry had it down at one point, and Apple claims that you can configure all your iPhones remotely. I work at a lot of places, a lot of big places, hospitals, insurance companies, manufacturers. No one is doing that, I can assure you. Only the most progressive companies will do stuff like that. Okay, so what I found out is it took commitment, and without knowing it in my own mind, I didn't make that commitment. I read a few manuals, I learned how to transfer a call, I learned how to merge calls, all good stuff. Again, that meets my usage profile. Now you'll notice the guys over here, and Sarah too, very technical, they're younger. They don't have 30 years of beating your head against the wall. Okay, I'm tired. If this thing can't do it automatically just because it's Apple, it's probably not going to do it. Whereas they're still willing to put the effort in to take advantage of the features. So the thing is, this device is awesome depending on how you want to use it. My girlfriend's daughter says it's the greatest invention ever. She can quickly send 10,000 texts per month. Okay, I can't. Jeez. Okay, let's talk about some of the business features on here. Okay, we have the phone. Oh, sorry, here's the main screen. Hopefully that's semi-readable. Okay, I've cleaned it up because most things on here are of no interest to me. Okay, the main thing I use is the phone. Okay, and first thing it does is it gives us the choice to dial or to pick from our contacts. Okay, here's complaint number one. Again, I fell for it. It's so funny how easy I am to fall for things. You can put contacts in, and there is a space here for a company. Great. They understand that I'm not using this for personal stuff. Except the thing is, how do you enter someone's name in the phone so that you can find them? I want all of my clients grouped together. So what you'll see is that I have Steve, my coworker, listed as Simplex Steve. Okay, Simplex Steve, and then his last name, and then in the company field, Simplex. All feeble attempts at attempting to get my contact list to do what I want, which is to group them. So where does Steve's name go? By his last name. Okay, come on. Is this serious business productivity? I can't even group people that are together. So again, you guys, everyone here works hard. Everyone here busts their butt all day long. I don't want to sound like I have it hard or anything. I love what I do. I love grinding data. But I'm only going to go so far with what I consider to be an entertainment device. If the business features aren't very obvious to me, I'm only going to take them so far. Okay, so the phone is good. We have lots of email. Oh, I do host conference calls on here. It's very good if you don't have a conferencing service. Okay, we have email. And we have the ability to have multiple email accounts on the phone. So I do. I have a bunch of them. Okay? And you can easily set up all kinds of email accounts just with a few clicks, just like Brandon was showing. Okay? So what I want to do now is I want to see all my messages. And here's my next complaint. Okay, so I have a big list, and most things are truncated. And again, I can't do it without my glasses. Now, if you're willing to put the time into it, what you do is you associate sounds with it, notifications with it. Okay? Not that interested, but I know I would get more value out of it if I would. The thing is, I work on site usually, and it's constantly going off, and it's making funny sounds, and that's annoying to people. You know, that might be good, it might not be good, depending on your situation. Okay? One of the best things on here in my book is the weather application, because then I know whether I'm going to get drenched. Okay? We have a calendar. We have the ability to put to-dos in and notes. And does anyone use their phone for reminders? Okay, I admire you. How much work does it take if I gave you something to do right now? What I find is, again, it's people's tolerance for the pain involved. And it's only a little bit of pain. But again, Maria, who can type really fast with just her thumbs, there is no pain. This is all good. But she doesn't come from the environment that we do. We were just at the Simplex office. Every office has 3 monitors on it, big monitors, bunch of systems open. We work for a living. She plays for a living. Okay. And she gets straight A's too, I'll give her that. Okay, so we have Skype. Anybody, you guys use Skype? Skype is awesome. It's very nice. Okay, you guys. So probably the thing I'm most disappointed in is that I spend $2,000 a year on this, and I can't stop people from calling me. Okay, if we go in and look at my text messages, I win prizes, I get invited to things, and it's a lot like my inbox. I can purchase, assistance type drugs and things like that. You can't stop it. I pay Verizon $5 a month to have a block call list. You get 20. There's more than 20 bad people out there. Okay. Okay, my experience with surfing the web with the iPhone is it's nice, but again, it's a very limited view, and I am not a very large person. I've never played football in my life. It's still too easy, even with relatively small hands, to hit the wrong button and to navigate somewhere you don't want to. And since we're on 3G, you have to hit back, and more than likely it's going to reload your whole page. You better have some time. Again, it's the commitment. Okay, so the most important thing in my perspective is that you know your own usage profile. Borrow your friend's phone. That's a good thing to do. Don't just buy into the hype. Now the iPhone 5 is supposed to be very, very good. And again, Max, someone I totally respect, says he can run his whole life on it. It has Siri, the voice assistant. You can just talk to your phone, and he claims that he does it. But I haven't had very good luck with that. A lot of it is the tone of your voice and how clear your voice is. And I don't think my voice is very clear. That just didn't work out for me. And then if anyone were to ask me, and the guys were kind of horrified when I admitted it, and they tried to say don't do it, would I buy another smartphone? The answer is no. I'm going back to a flip phone as soon as my contract's up. So I hope you guys were able to take something away from that. Does anyone have any questions?
Quick question, you said it doesn't support Flash. What's an example of where you might have wanted that? I know you don't have a lot in yours, so it's not a hindrance for you, but where might it be a hindrance for somebody here in the audience?
David, to be realistic, I don't understand. I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't.
Like
Kevin, do you?
YouTube stuff. Well, yeah, YouTube is a classic example of a Flash-based website. Well, the nice YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the nice thing is there is a YouTube app, so that just directly talks to YouTube and brings the information down a different way. Now, when you say
Apple denied Google the rights to put a YouTube app. There is no YouTube app for the iPhone.
it used to be either way, there's another way of bringing the videos in. Now, where you'd see an issue with supporting Flash, we've worked with some people that have ERP systems or contact management systems or customer information systems that are all web-based, and they use Flash for that entire menu system.
Yeah.
Those customers cannot use an iOS-based device. They have to use a Windows or an Android-based device.
Okay.
I've also seen some switches, some networking equipment that will use a Flash component to display some real-time thing, and
Yes.
you can't view that on these devices.
Okay.
So there are very niche things. There are probably 1,000 of them out there. You go to ESPN, I think that uses a Flash thing on their main page, but ESPN has their own app on the phone. So instead of going to the web page and failing at the request there, they want you to use their app. So that's how they got around that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Right. And so see, David, again, it's my usage profile that would lead me to not even be aware of that.
Sure.
because I really don't run out there and watch videos on this device. I don't get enough out of it. I do it on my dual screen. One final comment. Everyone knows the trend is bigger. These are nice, they fit in your pocket, they fit there. Bigger. There's something to be said for those of us that wear glasses. They need some room to work. Thanks, everyone.
And yay, me. All right. So, I kind of left this in there because, well, when you don't have that much great to say about someone you normally stick in, they have a great personality. Well, okay. Well, I do have some very good things to say about Windows Phone, actually. The biggest is this point here, the Office and Office 365 integration. Microsoft, like I mentioned earlier, has the trend of going with, you work on a document in one place, you could pick up exactly where you left off on another. And that is just built right into their phone here. It's the trend they wanted to do, and they did a very good job of integrating that in. You also do get your mobile version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever. You can edit the documents. I personally don't like to because it's just a very tiny screen, but for review, it's invaluable. Growing app market, there are more apps being added. I forgot how many there are right now, but some pretty good ones are coming out. On average, cheaper prices. There are many ways of looking at the prices of a cell phone. You've got your subsidized prices. So if you see an ad somewhere for a $200 iPhone, well, the iPhone itself, the iPhone 5 16 gig one, I think starts at $650. Well, AT&T, Verizon, all them, they eat that extra amount of money and will sell you the phone for $200, and they want to make the money back over the course of your 2-year commitment with them. When I say on average cheaper prices, either outright buying the phone without a commitment or with a subsidized price, it seems to me that the Windows phones are a little bit on the cheaper side. Not that it's cheaper quality hardware or anything like that. Microsoft is trying to push them, and they decided to, cut some place for them. So it's, if you have some kind of budget constraints, that's a good way to look at it. If any of you have used Windows 8, this should look pretty much the same. They went with the same tile interface. Scrolling through it, you can change the size of these and access them when you bring up an application. Yep, there's Facebook. I was looking at Facebook on here. There's me. So I was just browsing the web on here. You notice a trend, there's a lot of kid pictures. Pretty simple navigation. Email, you can set tiles, there's all that fun stuff. Set up different email boxes, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, yeah, it's all great stuff. The biggest thing I like about this is down here, this Office. This is how you access the different parts of the phone, or the Office application. I've got my option here for SharePoint. Now this directly works with our Office 365 SharePoint site. So I can open this, you can barely see that there. There we go. Where I've got our different SharePoint folders. I can access any one of these. Let's open up Client Install Docs. Here's just a random Word document. And give it a second. And it's hard to, and there. Okay, this Word document wasn't exactly the most complicated thing in the world, but there it is. I have that information. An Excel document, again, pretty simple. Just download it, and here I'm looking at just a regular Excel document that I would edit on my desktop. So pretty nice integration with that. And I can go in here, and I have basic functions like setting up formulas and the like, so I can do all that stuff on here. As far as VPN, unfortunately, there is no such thing as a VPN on Windows Phone. They neglected to put that feature on. I don't know why. So you're kind of limited if your organization needs any kind of connectivity for that. I'm trying to think of anything else to really go over. That's pretty much basic demo of it. Like I said, the biggest thing about it is the Office. also other little fun apps. I think pretty much any app that you've ever used on another phone, there's something equivalent. It's growing to be a non-issue anymore. So, all right, everyone still remember BlackBerry? All right, yeah, the consumer side of them, yeah, pretty much gone. I don't know what they did wrong, but you basically don't hear of them for the consumer side. People think they're just going to fade away into nothing, and I do not believe that'll happen. They still have a very, very strong hold in government, military, in environments where you need ridiculous levels of encryption and control. I remember the biggest case was, I think, the entire country, India. They wanted RIM to give them ability to decrypt the messages as they were coming through on BlackBerries. And RIM just outright said, no, I'm not letting you do that. So, I mean, that's the level of encryption and commitment they have where they're denying, a very strong country of ways through. If you can think of controlling it, you can control it on a BlackBerry. You can limit the phone, you can limit how much people are using it, you could push applications, you could remove applications, you can control contact lists, you can control everything through BlackBerry's software. So, again, depending on your environment, that's a very good thing. Another nice thing, you can get it on all carriers. So if you like AT&T, well, great, go get an AT&T one. Verizon works good in your area, go get a Verizon one. So you have some options with that. And again, it's not dead. And I don't think it will, but we'll see how well they can hold on to the government and military and other niche areas. This is a pretty big thing with all of the phones. You have people checking their corporate email. Any of the devices can check corporate email. Generally speaking, they use Exchange ActiveSync. This is a protocol that Microsoft set standard and most places uses. Google's getting away from, though, where this is how the messages, the calendar information, the contact information, the note information is all moved back and forth between a mobile device and the servers. Well, not every device supports every feature. And it's a rather simple, small matrix of devices versus ActiveSync. I actually had to crop this image. Imagine it going twice as wide to the right and 4 times down. And this document is 2 years old. So it doesn't even have some of the latest and greatest stuff that's out there. It is an absolute nightmare of what things can support what. If your organization needs like minimum 6-character passwords with 20 attempt wipe phone, with the ability to turn off the camera. These are all things you need to understand as a business, what you want to do with these phones, and look here what's going to do it for you. So you have to do a little bit of homework before you pick any one of these things. And unfortunately, they did not make it easy. As you change with different versions with Exchange, it's different things you can do. This graph didn't have the latest version of Android. It's out of date for a couple other things too. So there's just a lot of information, and you just have to make yourself aware that this is stuff you have to pay attention to. General cell phone considerations. And just to get away from the overall cell phone, what you're doing with, it doesn't matter what the cell phone is. These are things you need to pay attention to. Your carrier. If you were to have a, really like this Android-based phone, and it does everything you need, it's the greatest thing ever, and it only comes on Verizon. Well, if you lived someplace where Verizon didn't have good service, you would do nothing but just frustrate yourself to no end using this great phone that couldn't do anything because it couldn't talk to anywhere. Find the next best thing with AT&T, T-Mobile, anyone else. There's no sense in making that kind of compromise for what you're doing. In different parts of the world, or different parts of the U.S., you have different carriers work better. Verizon and AT&T work fairly well up here. Sprint is probably a notch lower. That will change in the next year or two. But we'll talk to people who live in a certain area and see how they work, or how the different carriers work for them. It will make a huge impact on your usage of the device, how much you're going to use or not use it. International travel also is a big thing. Not all phones work everywhere. A lot of Verizon phones use, get kind of technical, a certain type of radio called CDMA that only works in basically North America. You can't go over to London and use that phone. You need a different kind of radio in your phone called a GSM radio. The lines are kind of blurring. Phones are getting newer and newer, and they support different things, and stuff will work out of the country, whatever. But if you do travel a lot out of the country, make sure the phone you get is going to work for you. Just do a little bit of homework on it. As Doug was getting to, screen size. This has a pretty large screen on it. Makes it a little bit easier to read if you don't have young eyes like myself. Doug has to wear his glasses to read this. Makes a big difference. Phones are still kind of applying to this. Well, you could have a huge screen, a light phone, and a huge battery life. Well, no, you can't. Pick two of them. That's all you're ever going to get. So if you had a really big screen and the thing weighed nothing, well, you're going to have crap for battery life. Well, if the phone weighed nothing, had great battery life, well, your screen is going to be the size of a postage stamp. So it's one of those you pick two. The nice thing is the amount of gain or loss is shrinking. So you can get relatively close where a screen size and big screen, low weight, long battery life, it's not as bad as it was a couple years ago. You would have a rather rounded device. It still may not meet whatever you're trying to do with it, but it's still absolutely applicable. And getting back to asking people who live around where you are or work wherever you're at, ask what they use, see what they like. If Verizon worked good for someone, well, good, go with Verizon. If AT&T works good, fine. You like an Android phone? Okay, great, use the Android phone. If you have apps that only are on Android, well, again, you'd be foolish to go get an iPhone and complain that they don't have the app. So just ask around, see what people do. That's it. And those specifically, I put Bob's email address here. Send anything to him, I don't want him.